Right now, if anybody buys a unit, not a foreclosure, just buys a unit, they have to wait 12 months before they can rent. That was basically keeping an eye that we still want to be primarily an owner-occupied community. But this eliminates that waiting period. The first one, right now on paper, there's a limitation of no one person can own more than 4 units. The first amendment change would eliminate that. There would be no restriction whatsoever. Anybody can own as many units as they want. The third one is that right now, to help move the units in foreclosure, get them off the foreclosure rolls, anybody buying a unit in foreclosure or in lieu of foreclosure has to fix up the unit according to code and then be able to rent it or sell it without having to wait the 12 months. And the fourth one changes the permanent occupancy from a maximum of 30 days to a maximum of 90 days. The upshot, in my opinion, the upshot of all of these is to allow investors greater access to the association and basically make more money. In and of itself, that's not bad. Now, there's been a lot of discussions and emails and everything going back and forth demonizing Doug for being, the bad man and all this and the evil guy. I don't agree with that. I don't think Doug is a bad man. What he is a very good businessman. And all of these are designed to enhance his business and anybody else who wants to be an investor in International Village. This will give Doug and anyone else who wants to invest virtually unfettered access to our association, and I believe make this eventually into a pure apartment community, or virtually an entire apartment community. One of the key aspects of any business is maximizing profit. You do that by reducing costs and maximizing income. I think that if all these amendments go through, it will one of the aspects, it will keep prices of these units depressed. If somebody can come in and buy a unit cheap, that's a good thing to do. If you've noticed, prices for our units have been tremendously depressed because of the financial meltdown. But that has not held true for rental prices. Rental prices have stayed somewhat the same over the last few years. So anybody buying in very cheaply and then renting out at normal prices, their cash flow is going to be very good. So it makes absolute sense from an investment standpoint to keep prices depressed so they can buy more units very cheaply, rent them out, and have a good positive cash flow. Plus, if there's less restrictions on moving people in and out, and however that wants to be done, again, it gives the investor more leeway, more opportunity to maximize the profit. So from an investor and profit-making point of view, these investments are gold. These are excellent. But from my point of view, as a single unit owner who wants to live here in a quality community, this scares the crap out of me.
Right.
So my personal point of view is this should not be done. And I don't believe the premise that this will help us out of our financial difficulties. I don't believe that whatsoever. I've been told recently that the number of units, not including foreclosures, which we don't have too much control over, but just the number of units for sale out there right now is in single digits, like 8 or 9 or something like that, where the normal number of units at any given time could be 20 or 30 or 40. Now it's very, very few. There are various reasons for this, but again, it's very low. So we don't need these amendments to get us out of our financial difficulties. These amendments will only benefit those who want to invest and this will help create an apartment community. Again, this is my point of view. I think many others share this. So my recommendation is an absolute no on all 4 amendments.
Thank you, Martin. I really appreciate that. Okay, now we have Michael Schenkel.
What is it?
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
How do you control the amount of people living in an apartment? I know for sure there are a lot of people living in an apartment that shouldn't be there.
All right, we're not talking about the rules right now, okay? Let's get through this. We don't want to be here all night.
That's a big
Okay,
problem.
so, okay, we have one point of view from an owner who lives here. We need another point of view from someone who owns and doesn't live here, okay? We want to zip through this. We don't want people walking out because they go to sleep, have to take a nap. I need my nap at about 4:30, okay?
The banks are not going to be giving us,
Let's stick with where we are. We'll have plenty of time. You can stay here till 6 o'clock and ask questions. Okay? Pardon me, Michelle. Let's stick with the subject here. Now we want to hear the other side of the story. Michael Schenkel?
Hello. As you know, I'm a recently elected board. Okay. A recently re-elected board member. I don't live here. I hear most every day, and I've been involved in upgrading apartments and helping absentee landlords upgrade their units and get them rented and maintain their cash flow so they can pay their maintenance. I've been doing this for about 13 years. I own 3 units here. And the amendments that are being proposed would actually, as a realtor, but I don't live here, would be good for me. I mean, it would be more rental business, and it would be, it would be a lot more activity in the real estate business. This isn't about me. This is about the people who live here, and the people who want to maintain the community as a residential community and not change it to a rental complex with transients coming and going. So my perspective as a board member or as an individual owner who cares about the village, I've printed this out and I've given a number of them to you, but it'd be easier if I just tell you what it says. The current majority board members that control the decisions of the board are asking you to vote for new amendments that would turn the village into a primarily transient rental hotel community. The proposal benefits only a few board members and a few owners who have been violating our condo documents and improperly acquiring apartments for years without board approval and bypassing the application process. This behavior has plagued the village for years. There have been several attempts to control this activity. Fortunately, a 30-year owner of the village, multi-unit owner, has filed a lawsuit that will expose this, and you will become aware of the details. In fact, there's copies of the lawsuit here if anybody would like to read it. The new amendments include eliminating the 25% cap on rentals. So the 25% cap actually equals 208 units. 25% of 832, you can have 208 rental units. Unfortunately, we don't know how many we have. Allowing outside investors to buy units, whether they're in foreclosure or not. Well, for current owner investors, which our amendment current reads now, I think it's unfair to the unit owners who've been paying their maintenance, and investors cannot buy their units and upgrade them and rent them. It's that part of the amendment, the older amendment, really should include the owners who pay their maintenance and the in lieu of foreclosure and the foreclosures, because it does put them at an unfair disadvantage in the market. But this would allow outside investors that have no interest in the village to buy units, whether they're in foreclosure or not. It'll also allow them to be rented immediately without any upgrading. Unlimited rentals, including daily rentals. Other implications of these changes to the village, it would raise our administrative costs to handle this additional traffic of coming and going. It will diminish security in the village. I mean, we have a problem maintaining security now, knowing who lives here. You open the doors wide open, you will never know who's in the apartment next to you. It will increase maintenance because there'll be more maintenance involved with the moving trucks coming and going and furniture moving. And yes, all the details that go with a lot of moving activity, which is why people who live in apartment complexes don't like them. Qualified buyers would never again be eligible for conventional mortgages. And property values will never recover under these circumstances. This is regarding our current amendments. Actually, a lot of time and careful consideration resulted in our current sales and leasing amendments, which were designed in 2008 to meet the challenges of the housing crash. They currently include ownership of up to 4 units, including an opportunity for current Ivy owners to purchase units in this community, requiring an upgrading of the units in foreclosure or in lieu of foreclosure to a board-established standards. They include water conservation measures, plumbing and flood prevention measures, and meeting the current building codes. The 2008 sales and leasing amendments have become very successful. They are the proactive tools in this challenging housing market. They've never been promoted or encouraged, but they are working. In 2009, 18 delinquent unit owners were transferred to the maintenance rolls. You know, previous years, 06, 07, we were selling, the sales here numbers were about 50 or 60 a year. In 09, it was 18 units, mostly delinquent units back on the maintenance rolls. In 2010, last year, there were 40 units sold, most of them delinquent owners back on the maintenance rolls. Since January 1st of this year, there are 28 units that have been sold or are pending sale right now. That trend is obvious, that it indicates that their demand is increasing here, the values are bottoming out, and demand is increased. There are resident buyers and current owner investors waiting in line for more inventory to become available. There are only 7 units for sale that are pending a short sale or involved in a pending sale right now. 3 months ago there were 28, right now there's 7 or fewer. This shows you that property is being sold, we're transferring them, putting them back on the maintenance rolls, and there is no urgent need, there's no crisis anymore. All the statistics point to that by the end of this year, and if the property housing crash recovery won't occur every place at the same time. But those communities that have been proactive and had a plan like this, and we're the only one who does in South Florida, although many other condo associations have contacted me because they feel it's what they need also, we're going to come back, and our values will come back, and our budget income will come back ahead of the rest of South Florida. So our process of recovery is well on its way. These radical measures of change would only benefit a few current owners that are proposing it at the expense of the rest of you. My opinion is, I have to admit that I was involved in the creation of those amendments. I proposed them more than 3 years ago, and people said that I was making up the foreclosure crisis. It was something that was short-term and it would go away. And I was told at board meetings to sit down and shut up, basically. But I wasn't even a board member at the time, and when I created those amendments, I was not on the board, and somehow I captured the interest of the community, and they were voted, they've been filed, they're in the circuit court as our condo documents, and in spite of the fact that they were not promoted and encouraged, foreign investors, and many of them have finally caught on, and they are beating a path to our door. The next step is for values to go up, and that usually occurs with supply and demand. And with the demand diminishing and there are people waiting in line, it's inevitable that values will go up. So the need for these radical changes, are not for your benefit.
Okay. Great. Thank you. Michael, that's interesting that someone who doesn't live here and owns, and someone who does live here and owns have very similar positions when it comes to these amendments. So take that into consideration when you vote on them. Something just as a side note to this, I really don't understand the way these amendments were sent out. It appears to me that if all you need to do is to fill this out, yes or no, and not put any names or numbers or signatures or anything, then it's going to be go ahead. It's open for cheating, let's put it simply. So this doesn't make any sense to me. Yes, Francis?
Another mailing.
Who's paying for that?
1 second. Go ahead.
Yet another mailing is in process, on which that ballot has been amended to include the name and signature of the owner. Now, I got a call late last night from an owner who's going crazy with the original packet. When I told him that another packet was going out, he became even more furious. Because he said, why haven't we been told this?
All right, Francis is saying that to address, I guess, at least this problem, 1 second, sir, to address this problem, there's another packet going out that's going to authenticate the ballots. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. All right, yes. So this is Eve. Go ahead, Eve.
The part that I don't understand.
I'll repeat what he says. Just sit there. I can hear him, and I'll let you know what he says, and he'll correct me if I'm wrong. Go ahead.
The part that I don't understand.
All right. They want to see you. They want to see you. Yes. A handsome Canadian. This is a handsome Canadian here that's bought a number of units in a short period of time.
An old fart.
That's another Canadian.
The part that I have a problem understanding, and I know that Michael is on the board. I get this invitation to vote yes or no. I don't think it's coming from the board, because obviously if it is, I'm sure Michael did not vote yes for those amendments. In other words, who's sending this stuff that I gotta decide right now, yes or no? Like, where does it come from?
You know, that's a mystery to me too.
Okay, so if it's a mystery, and right now we got to do a mailing that's going to be very mysterious, can we, I guess you guys call it table, I call it forget this stuff for now. The amendments seem, since they're not coming from anybody that I know of, I don't know why I should vote on them. Thank you.
I did inquire about that from Maureen, and unfortunately I wasn't able to research it, but she told me that the December, I think it was 18th, you were there when she told me, weren't you, Francis?
I believe she mentioned December 13th.
Okay, she mentioned a board meeting that this was passed. I haven't had an opportunity to look at that, but I'm going to look at that DVD that I have of it, and then I'll be able to tell better. So maybe you weren't here, Eve, and maybe it was done. I can't answer that question.
Jerry,
Yes.
I checked my records in my computer. I took the minutes of the December 13th meeting. The subject never came up.
All right. Well, I'll look at the DVD and we'll see. And if that's the case, then my hat's off to Eve. That's right. We're certainly not going to
Actually, it
vote.
was a January meeting, because I wasn't president or on the board any longer, but it was, I was at the meeting. I
Which
wrote the board-
meeting?
January.
January what, you know?
I don't know. I
Oh,
was
so
on
it's
the
not
board.
the December, it's a January. Well, Maureen said December something. Well, we'll take a look and see if it is or it isn't. We don't have to talk about that here. Yes.
Yeah, I've requested from the office a copy of those minutes, and they've not been able to.
Okay, all right, we'll research that before anything's going to be finalized. Yes, Joe?
Yeah, just a couple other
Ladies,
things.
please.
A
Yes.
couple other things to go along with these amendments, which nobody's mentioned. Okay, Michael touched on it briefly.
Joe, why don't you come up here? We like to see you.
Getting a mortgage is
Okay,
becoming.
1 second. Wait till you get up here.
Okay, getting a
Right.
mortgage is becoming increasingly difficult.
Okay, the banks, we're at 25%. They want to eliminate it altogether. The banks are going the other way. I think they're down to 15 now.
Well, you have to, yeah, if you have 15% or
Right.
fewer delinquent owners, there are three requirements that the major banks want communities to qualify for. One is 15% or fewer delinquent owners, 10% of your annual budget in reserves, which in our case would be about $270,000 held in reserves, and the third thing is
Rental.
rentals. They have to be 25% or fewer rentals in the community. Now that doesn't include occupants, family members who live in units. We don't know how many unit owners, how many unit renters we have, because they won't tell us and they won't let us look at the files.
Yeah, there's no way of telling even who lives here at this point. That's been an ongoing issue. The last thing I just want to bring up, we are a not-for-profit organization. There's a lot of tax exemptions, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know all of them offhand, but it behooves us to maintain that. We will not be able to maintain that with the state or the federal government if we are a rental community making profit. That will affect everybody. Taxes may go up. That would affect a lot of things as far as our status. At that point, we would no longer be even classified as a condo association. We would be a rental unit. And just one quick last point, when I glanced over those things, I haven't had a chance to look at them in detail, because it seems like every time I try and review that, there's something else coming out here. The way those things are written, you could rent by the day in here, just like a hotel. You can rent by the week.
Why don't they cut out rentals altogether and let us go back to
Well,
a
you know,
building?
that's the way it should be, but that's my opinion. So that's where we're at on those.
The hell with it.
Okay, I think that Joe is against the amendments. All righty, we're going to move forward. Do you have any other questions? I mean, I think the two speakers have indicated that, have indicated they're not for the amendments. Come on. This is Bob Cohen. Okay, he's a longtime member here, or owner.
Michael, just to go along with your comment that they will not allow you to see the records, there is a state law governing condos that everybody, any owner, can have access to any information of the association. You just must provide the office with a form that requests it. They have, I believe, a week to respond.
5 days.
All right, I'm sure Michael is aware of that. We want to stick with our subject.
Because I must answer that. The fact of the matter is, there have been 5 requests by certified mail for these official records, and all 5 have been ignored.
When you take it to the
Next week, they were going to small claims court to get answers. There is a fine for $50 a day for up to 10 days on each one of these requests for information that has not been provided. So it's possible that we're going to have a $2,500 fine and have to pay the legal fees next week because they won't provide this information.
Michael?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, take it out of that.
All right. Let's try to stick with the subject or we'll never get out of here.
Yeah,
Okay?
we're going to.
Just introduce yourself, would you please?
Yeah, my name is Frank Noel. I'm the owner of 1C36 Avenue. Regarding the winter issue, I think the new board president we have is a flipper, and also is probably the biggest issue we have with the new board president, because he bought the Unit 1V probably 4 months ago. He sold it recently. And I have the record here. His address is not even. He's not a resident of the IV. His address is in Canada. So now I think he bought another unit that's 3V. He bought another unit here.
Excuse me, sir. We're not getting into individuals and persons. We're talking about broader subjects than that. Okay?
So, until we can get, if those people are not responsible, if the president is not responsible, so how we can get?
You're not talking about a president. This is not a president here. Our president is Terry Tresigny. This doesn't say Terry Tresigny.
The new president is for sure.
That's not true.
That's what I saw.
I don't, listen, that's not the case, but that's not the subject. I need, as the moderator, to stick to the subject. We're talking about amendments now, and I'd like to get out of amendments and on to budget. We can discuss this privately if you have a problem, but we don't want to just go all over the board or we'll never get done with this meeting. Okay? Thank you.
Who's the president?
All right, whatever. It has nothing to do with what we're here for.
Okay.
So I don't mind discussing it, but I don't need to be led around. I'm calling the meeting, so we're going to stick to the subjects. All righty? We have concluded, I think, the amendments, and you've heard different points of view. Now we're going to move on to the budget, and I've asked Charles Fitzpatrick, who's on the board, and he is familiar with budgets and with large business, to come up and
So this is
give
what
us.
I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. So Charles is on the board. So he's on the board. That's what I'm saying.
We're talking about the budget.
I'm talking
okay?
about Winto. That's he's
We're
on the board.
talking
Okay.
about
Let me
budget.
explain myself, sir. Charles is on the board. Okay. What I'm saying, he's not even a resident
Have
here.
you been?
What do you mean I'm not a resident? You're not a resident.
Here he is. This is Charles right here.
So this is
That doesn't mean he's not a resident.
This is his address here. His permanent address in Canada.
I'm a resident of the
He's an owner, he's an owner.
He's an owner, but his permanent address is in Canada.
So what?
Yes,
So what? His permanent address is in Connecticut. And he's here, he's an owner. Owners have rights. We're talking about owners' rights now. Would you?
So,
This is you?
yeah.
Look at his eyes. You are owner of it?
Yeah, I know he's an owner.
You are resident here?
Yes.
That's that.
Okay.
That's it.
If he said that he's owner, resident, unless he lied to you, to all of us now, we have a problem. But he don't. You don't lie.
No.
Okay.
And it's recorded.
It's
Okay,
it's
so
recorded. Now
that's
now
as
you
far
have
as
you
we
have
need
the
to go
answer.
with it.
If he lied, we can sue him. I go with you on this.
Jerry, what do we do about the amendments that we got? Should we throw them out? What do we do with
Yeah.
them? What do we do with that last packet of papers that came?
Well, it sounds to me that Francis is saying there's something else that's coming. Okay, I can't answer that except when the
throw it out or do we keep it?
amendments come, if they come, you should vote no. Okay. You have
But
something
what
to say?
about the other packet I'm asking?
There's the number of votes required. The number of votes required to pass these amendments is 278.
Want you here.
Without 278 votes, it becomes a no. So if you don't vote, we run the risk of people who stuff the ballot stealing that vote.
Why can't they get it right the first time instead
Yeah, right.
of mailings and?
All right, that's the way it is. You know, we're dealing with what is, not what might have been. Okay, so let's stick with what is. That's where we are. Okay, right now we're only talking about these things, so you should be aware. All right, Terry, if you don't mind, Charles has asked you to join him.
You
Can you?
said no though.
What?
You didn't want me to.
I didn't say no. He was finishing his subject on amendments. You worked it out with Charlie. Charlie, we're up to you.
I'd like Terry to sit with me.
I've invited him. I can't.